Good evening.
What's going on, buddy?
How you doing? It is Chris and Tim. It is the 3BeerPod back after a week hiatus and into season number 2 of the podcast.
Who would have thought, buddy?
Never
Good
thought
to
it would
see
have long. Yeah, good to see you too, man. This is awesome.
Cool.
This is awesome. We were off last week, and good to be back now. It's like this is right. This is normal.
Yeah, I was a little lost last week. I'm not gonna lie. We made it through the beginning of COVID by doing this, and then I didn't know what to do last Tuesday. We didn't even have the after show last Tuesday.
No.
So, man, it was a tough Tuesday last week.
But welcome to it. It is the 3BeerPod Tuesday, obviously, if you're watching here on the Facebook. Thanks for tuning in live at facebook.com/3BeerPod or wherever you download your podcasts. You can find us there, and that usually comes out Wednesday morning is when we get that up online. So, yeah, Corey, brand new intro. That's where the money went for season 2. We threw it right into the intro.
Big investment for season 2.
Don't want to give a spoiler, but you may want to listen to the extra tonight too.
Oh boy.
That is also new. Thanks to our guests in season 1. That was a lot of fun. Our guest tonight will be Jesse Lumsden. He assures me he will be here, and spoiler alert, he is standing by. So Jesse will officially join us here tonight. And our buddy Darren Ebert, who is a local beer nerd and one of the first ever groupies of the 3BeerPod, will be a guest coming up a little bit later on tonight.
That's exciting too, eh?
Yeah. So let's start off here tonight with the 3BeerPod and season 2 with a first round, I should say, of season 2 of not the beer buzz. It's what you drinking, bud.
I was gonna say, man, did we stop drinking on the show?
Oh, gosh, no.
It's too hot out for that. You want me to go first here, buddy?
You go first, because this is friends of the show. We wanted to make sure.
Red Barn came on at the end of season 1 and told us that they were going to go and sell some beer on Canada Day, and that went amazing for Red Barn. So we got a couple here. I'm going to drink 3 of them tonight. I got batch 1 was a growler. It didn't make it, so I'm going to drink the Home Farm, which is going to be part of the farm series. This one is delicious. I have had this one already. It's the Blonde Ale. Check out the artwork on this, Cloudy. I'm excited for this. I think there's going to be something cool coming out when all the beers come out from Red Barn. Had a good chat with Denny today out at Red Barn, which was pretty cool. I'm going to drink the Sharecropper as well here tonight. Again, this is the Belgian style wit beer. This is a good drinking beer. Good story behind that one. That's a ode to the grandfather on that one. And then this is kind of one of their seasonal beers. This is the 5 Acre Island. It's a citrus blonde. It's got lime in it, and it is refreshing. So I'm going to drink these 3 here tonight on the 3Beer podcast. But big turnout for Red Barn. You want to talk about that in the buzz for? We'll talk about Red Barn. Okay.
Let's get to that. Lynn's drinking along with us here tonight. She's drinking a Kingsville Light A, and Kingsville opening up into stage 2. So yeah, you can get out there for a drink here. And Leanne likes the can from Red Barn, of course, in Blenheim, Ontario, if you're out that way. All right. So Timmer, I was on vacation last week, and I took a tour up north. My first stop was Parry Sound, Ontario, for Trestle Brewing, and went into Trestle. They had their patio open, obviously. Trestle's in Parry Sound, Ontario. So pull in, and Ron McLean had mentioned Trestle when we had him on season 1, sometime in season 1. So he had mentioned Trestle, Bobby Orr's hometown. So I thought, you know what, I'm going there. That's where we get our groceries on our way to the cottage. I'm going to stop by. I walked inside and I said, hey guys, love to get you on the podcast at some point. He's like, you guys did the podcast with Ron McLean.
Oh, buddy.
So they knew it.
They knew it.
So, hey, Trestle, cheers to you. This golden ale from Trestle, though the Trestle is a bridge, which is right outside, basically, Trestle Brewery. It's an awesome spot right on Georgian Bay, the little harbor right there. Awesome. So, Trestle, I'm going to try that. Then took a trip sometime into the vacation to North Bay, Ontario, and tried to hit New Ontario. They're not open to the public right now, but love their stuff. Did make it over to Gateway City Brewery, and they may be a guest at some point on the podcast. So there's Gateway City, the New Zealand Pilsner. Over the Falls is that one there. So those are a couple of my vacation beers. And my third beer tonight we'll highlight is Straw Ale from Sodbuster Brewery in Dresden, Ontario. So they've got 2 beers out right now that they brew, this being one of them, and the brown ale called Broken Pasture. But we've also seen, what was the one, Tim, you had? The orange milk shade tree.
Yeah, shade tree.
So they're from Dresden. Wanted to give them some love from Sodbuster. So thanks to Mike Nolte and the team out there. We'll have to get them on at
that'd be awesome.
some point. So Leanne says hi from Ron and Leanne. Gordon's tuned in tonight. Gordy, sup boys? Think, buddy.
Good to see you.
Get some beers into Gordy at some point. That's always fun. All right, so Jesse's going to come up here in a minute. Tim, do you want to do Beer Buzz now, or should we get Jesse on first? What do you want to do?
We should get Jesse on first so people actually believe that he's that he's here. We'll do a little Beer Buzz after. I want to talk about Red Barn for sure afterwards, but I don't think people believe that Jesse was coming on. So maybe we should
let's do that. Jesse Lumsden, CFLer, Olympian, and MANTRACKER. He's on episode number 1.
It played well tonight. Lumsden left side, huge hole, busts it. Jesse Lumsden gone. 57 yards and his second touchdown of the game.
And that's another gear that I haven't seen from Jesse Lumsden. He just put it into overdrive.
I love that. And the stare into the camera at the end. Here he is. It's the one and only Jesse Lumsden. What's going on, Jess?
Hey guys, how's it going?
Welcome.
We're geeked to have you there in season 1, and we just couldn't connect, but it's good to have you here tonight.
And I came beers in hand.
Nice.
You guys can help me make a decision on what I'm going to drink. I'm only going to have 1. I'm not going to have 3.
Well, you are an Olympian, so.
Well, no. It's more about the parenting that I have to do afterwards. But so shall I show you and you guys can vote? What do you think?
So first of all, Jess, you're in Calgary?
Yeah, Calgary. Calgary's home. Calgary's
okay.
Here, 2 kids now.
Okay.
3-year-old and a 6-month-old little boy. So Calgary's home. Try to get back to Ontario. Obviously, it's been tough with what's going on. But my folks are rented a cottage for the first time, and I was supposed to be there with the kids and the family, but COVID had other plans for us. So they're up in just north of Barrie, up in the Muskoka area ish.
Nice.
And then with my sister and her husband and her little one, and enjoying some time on the lake, which is something that we never did as a family in Ontario, just because we were always involved with football, and football is synonymous with cottage season, kind of. So,
sure. Well, let's see your beers here, Jesse. I want to see what you got out there in Calgary.
Okay, so I actually have a Hamilton beer here too. Oh. So this is a Collective Arts.
Nice.
It's an Earl Grey wheat.
Yes.
Beer. It's very cool artwork. One thing I'm loving about these microbreweries, wherever you are, they're putting out great art on the cans, which is kind of cool. And the artist for this was Sarah Lee. I think it's kind of neat how they're including local artists, but it's brewed with black tea, cornflower petals, bergamot, and coriander. And my wife actually picked this up for me, probably because it actually looked really cool.
Nice.
And I don't blame her. And I'm excited to try that at some point. And then I have a Calgary brewery. Yep. The Microscene brewery in Calgary is hopping. No pun intended. Sure. This one's Zero Issue Brewery, and again, great artwork. This is the Multiverse Pale Ale, so pretty cool, pretty sci-fi-esque look to it. Cool. And their Zero Issue is really aggressive with the artwork they put on their can. So it definitely pops when you do go into the beer and liquor stores, which are all private in Alberta, by the way. So you can get a pretty cool selection of all the different things that's going on.
All right, Timmer. Is there another one?
No, I just brought 2 down.
I think you got to go with the Calgary. I think you got to stick to your.
I think so. That Earl Grey though from Collective Arts is delicious.
You've had it, Tim?
Yeah, it's really good.
Okay, so what would you have it with if you were going to
breakfast? No. I'm kidding aside, it is summertime, but I would have that. That's a late evening kind of just chilling out beer for me when I have that one. I like that one. It's tasty.
And do you guys go, you're out of the can guy, or are you a glass guy?
Cloudy is too lazy to grab glasses all the time, I think. Or I think it needs to be drank out of a glass myself. But
I'll bring the glass that I drink out of usually. This is from Sochi, Russia, from a restaurant.
Oh, nice.
They were kind enough to give it to me after having a few pints and
Nice.
meals at the hotel. So this is generally when I'm drinking out of a tall can, it goes into the Russian glass.
It's a good looking glass.
It's not bad. Yeah, it does the trick.
I'm in the middle of a kitchen right now. I don't know where any of my glasses are. So I'm eating with plastic forks and styrofoam plates right now. So I'll deal with the can. Jesse, you've got a great background in football. I got to know you a little bit when you were in Hamilton. That's what we kind of talked about it when you weren't when you didn't make it the first time. So we were discussing our Hamilton days. But your story, because you go from CFL football. Well, first of all, you go from a Canadian university like stud all-star, like you just killed it. You go to the CFL, you become an Olympian. Somewhere in there you do MANTRACKER. So there's a lot of little different things we want to talk to you about. And I guess first of all, growing up in the Hamilton area, your dad was a CFLer, won himself a couple of Grey Cups. So you were around football long before you were even playing, right?
Once I hit the ground.
Yeah.
I had memories of being in the Eskimo locker room when my dad was playing. For sure. And funny enough, when I went to the Eskimos for my 1 year that I was there, the equipment manager is the same guy. So I was tormenting him when I was in diapers, and I tormented him for 1 year when I was not in diapers anymore. But Dwayne Mandrusiak and some of the people that were involved there at the Eskimo organization, that was pretty cool. I was in my dad's locker, which was a pretty special moment for me. They do a pretty cool thing at Commonwealth where they, notable players get a plaque in the locker. So it was very cool to be able to experience that as well from a heritage side of things. From my folks actually didn't. I played football. I started when I was 7. They didn't have a tyke league. I was living in Ottawa at the time in the Myers Riders organization. My dad was coaching the Mosquito age group, which was 9 to 11, I think. So I practiced with the team as a 7-year-old. I never played a game. And then the next year they came out with tyke, which was 7 to 8. And then I played 1 year. And then my parents pulled me out and said, I'm not going to play football anymore. I can make the decision if I wanted to soon when I got to high school. But I was going to keep playing hockey and soccer, baseball, and just other sports, which was probably the best thing for me from an athlete perspective, because I got exposed to other sports. And then, but soon as I got to high school, where's the sign-up sheet for football? So I got back into it pretty quick. I just always loved it. I was always more passionate about it than hockey. I was a pretty good hockey player growing up. Played AA, a little bit of AAA, but football, I whenever there was an opportunity to get better at football, I took it. But I never enjoyed shooting pucks in the driveway. I would never voluntarily just do what I needed to do to become a better hockey player. But when it came to football, I would do whatever I needed to do.
And were you always a running back?
No. So when I first started, they put me at safety.
Wow.
And in my first year of junior, and then they moved me to running back a little bit later in the season. And then from that point in time, I was always a running back. When I was getting some interest from the NCAA, they asked if I would go to play linebacker or safety. Wasn't interested in it. Wasn't interested in redshirting and learning a new position. I wanted to play running back. It was one of the big reasons why I stayed in Canada, and I was going to get that opportunity. So it's that's one of the big reasons. I shouldn't say that's one of the big reasons. I got a couple offers to go down into the States, but it was through a redshirt program, and it wasn't something that really interested me at the time.
Jesse Lumsden is a former CFLer, Canadian Olympian, was on MANTRACKER. I got to keep adding that because we got to talk about that. But our guest here, season 2, episode 1. How you liking that, Jess? Is that good?
That's really good, actually.
That looks good.
It looks, it's got good color. I'm not a beer guy. I like drinking beers that are. I'm not going to get into flavor if it's good, and I like if it's crushable, I like to drink it.
Yes.
Yeah. Tim knows his beer. Tim knows beer and knows why things taste the way they do. I'm like you, Jesse. I'm like, if I like the taste of it, I don't. Yeah. I'll try everything once, anything once, I should say.
I'm not going to lie right now, Cloudy, though, with the weather that we're having, I'm just looking for crushable. right now.
Crushable.
Yeah, I just need something that's crushable.
Yeah.
So, Jesse, you end up at McMaster. And I remember I wasn't in Hamilton yet when you were at Mac. I was doing some stuff with Western, so I remember watching you when you'd come into Western and play against the Mustangs, and like it was easy for you. It looked easy anyway. Did you feel like that? Did you feel like did you feel dominant in those? Because Tim and I have never felt dominant on a sports field ever. So.
Well, no. We haven't. That's true. We haven't.
I mean, I had some great guys in front of me when I didn't start in my first 2, 3. I didn't start till my 4th. I started a bit more in my 3rd year, but my first 2 years I backed up Kojo Edu and Kyle Pierre, and I got reps. It was great, and I got to learn a ton from those guys. But by the time I was starting in my 3rd year, our offensive line was pretty darn good, and we had a pretty aggressive run system. So we went downhill on guys, and we loved doing it, and we were good at it. So we really enjoyed beating defenses up and wearing them down and just being a punishing run game. The receivers loved blocking downfield too, and it makes a huge difference for a running back, especially when you get into the second level. If you have inside receivers that are taking on DBs or going after safeties or finding somebody to get pads on, it gives you more avenues as a running back, and it puts you in more one-on-one situations in the second level as opposed to multiple guys on you. And I attribute a lot of my success at Mac to the people that I played with.
So you go. Sorry, Tim. Were you going to ask?
No, I was just thinking that there's a comment there from Corey Barr about Quigs.
Yes, we got to bring up. Yeah,
I got to throw it out there. So I got a couple buddies that both went to U Windsor, and I think it was 2002 or 2003. You played them in a playoff game, and you had like a 110-yard missed field goal.
Yeah,
return for a touchdown, and our buddy Quiggs, Derek Quigley, was the last man back, and he said you gave him a little shake and bake, and he dove, he missed, and then you scored the touchdown. My other buddy John Dent was the quarterback of U Windsor, and he said they felt good going into that game until you returned that missed field goal, and then the wheels fell off.
Windsor always had a really, really good defense, really physical defense, and they were fun to play against. But it was always it would take a while with Windsor to crack through and to wear that defense down. And then, just like a chink in the armor, you see it, and then you try to expose it, and you hit it harder and harder and harder. And eventually you're going to try to break one through. But Windsor was always a super physical defense. They were fun to play against.
Yeah, Quig's wife says she ended up in the first row. I love it. That's too funny. So Jesse, then you get drafted by the Hamilton Tiger Cats, and like you said, your dad was playing football, so he was kind of all over the place. But that Hamilton Horseshoe area was like kind of your hometown, right? Was that home base at the time?
Yeah, so Edmonton to Ottawa. My dad was working with the Rough Riders, and then went to the Ticats as the GM mid '90s. And then we stayed in Ottawa for a year, and then the family came out to, and we resided in Burlington.
Okay.
So it was 15 minutes up the road from Hamilton.
So you're drafted to the Ticats right about the time I start in Hamilton, and I obviously, what do I know about Hamilton? Well, I know Jesse Lumsden's there. I knew a little bit of the football side. So there was a buzz when you were coming to the team, and I remember one of our first interviews with you. You come to the radio station and you sit down. And I said, Jesse, I said, Hamilton's hottie. This is exactly. I felt like I should just crawl underneath the desk and never come out again because you didn't like this. There was a full page picture of you. You had long hair at the time, and nothing wrong with it, man. But you look good. You were Hamilton's hottie.
I look good now. I gave Ken Peters a hard time about that. I wanted to play football. That's what I wanted to do. It was like my first week after coming back from the Seahawks. I wanted to focus on playing football. That's it. And they, did that picture, and they're like, put the water in your hair, slick hair, yeah. And then it's like a full page spread, and I was giving them crap about you could be covering proper news. I was upset, but also I was embarrassed because I knew I was going to get just hammered in the locker room, and I did, deservedly. guys like Rob Hitchcock were like, man, I wish I had played like that. So, it worked out, and it was all in fun. But at the time, I was, I was a little embarrassed because all I wanted to do is prove myself on the football field. That's it.
Yeah.
And I looked at that as like a distraction away from football. So yeah, it bothered me a bit, but at the end of the day, I look back, it's like, oh man, I need to get a copy of that now.
This is the thing. So Tim, not a word of a lie, I have him in, and I'm still trying to find my footing in Hamilton. I'm trying to be the cool guy, and I'm like, Jesse's in. Hey, Jesse, Hamilton's hottie. The guy looks like he wants to rip my head off.
Uh-oh.
And I'm like, okay, well, I'm done. That was fun. This is good. He hates me now. But then I'm like, obviously, we've talked, Jesse, and I got to know you a little bit. But I thought, hey, Jesse's on. Let's find the picture. I got to ask him about it again. It's gone. It's gone. I can't find it anywhere. I have no idea. So unless you had some pull with the folks at Google, because it is nowhere to be found.
I don't think so. That's really dang. Oh, that's too bad.
Yeah, can't find it anywhere. I looked everywhere, so it's gone. But okay, so let's back up a little bit. So you did go to the NFL camp with Seattle first, right?
Seattle first, yeah.
And what was there a shot there? Did you get a legitimate shot? What do you think?
No, I was a camp body, and I learned that quick. I mean, it's I learned it after the fact, and it was a whole different world, and I wasn't prepared going into that world. I did the best I could. I worked my butt off. I studied the playbook. But I look back at it now, and I was just there to take reps. It was an easy flyer. Like if I had worked out, great, but they weren't putting any stock in me. You didn't really have anybody in your corner, which is something that is massive that I realized is you need to have people in your corner that are going to vouch for you when it comes time to start, crossing names off of lists. That's a big one. And I had that in Washington. We can dive into that a little bit later, but I look back, it was a great experience because I got exposed to some of the best. I mean, I was, working with one of the NFL's best for a while. They were just coming off of a huge season with Sean Alexander, Hutchinson on the left tackle. It was his second last year before he went to the Vikings. Holmgren was the coach. Hasselbeck was the quarterback. A couple Canadians were there too as well. Kerry Carter was there as a running back who was pretty established, a Stanford guy, and a very, very, not only a great human being, but a good mentor for me coming into that situation. It was a great experience, but I learned a lot. I learned I should have enjoyed some of the little things more often when I was there, as opposed to literally running out of paper and drawing plays on the hotel room mirror with soap on the study. But I needed to go through that. So,
is it true you were promised some reps in the Monday Nighter, a preseason Monday night game, and you didn't get them, and you were cut? Does that happen? You were cut the next day. Eh?
Yeah, as soon as you see it as soon as they can put you on a game time roster, they can essentially release you. And it was against New Orleans. I didn't.
Wow, it's crazy. Yeah. Jesse Lumsden's with us here today. Spent a little time in the NFL in preseason, and then a lot of time in the CFL. So you come back to Hamilton. I ask you the awkward question. You go out, you hit the field. The Tiger Cats. Like honestly, Jesse, that was a tough run in Hamilton. Like I looked here. I think you had 8 wins over 3 years or something. It was tough. It was tough to be a Tiger Cat.
If that. It was. Yeah, no playoff runs with the Ticats. A huge. I mean, so this is something interesting. You spend a lot of time trying to understand an offensive coordinator's systems, and you want to become fully ingrained in that. And the more you become ingrained, the better you know it. Then you can utilize that to understand defenses, and you can then help put together game plans. So I go from learning the Seahawks playbook, which is seriously probably one of the biggest binders I've ever seen with information, then jumping back into Hamilton to learn a new offense very, very quickly, kind of partway through the season. And as you get into the season, you kind of reduce your playbook into smaller bite sizes, which are more relevant towards who you're playing as opposed to the whole offensive scheme. So Greg Marshall was the coach. He had drafted me, got into that system very, very quickly. Finished the season. Did I even finish the season, or was Greg let go? Either way, Ron Lancaster I think it was Ron Lancaster was my next coach. And then it was Charlie Taff with Hamilton.
That's right, yes.
And then it was Marcel Belfay. And then after that, and then also, if you include the year after my first year, learning Al Saunders' offense with the Washington Redskins.
Wow.
So in a 3-year period, I had gone through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 offensive systems.
Wow.
So which from a student of the game standpoint, it's great, but it's also you can't get comfortable.
No.
And it was a rotation of players and coaches in Hamilton during those times, which was unfortunate because you can't build a culture off of that. It's very, very hard to build a culture of trust and understanding, you're going to be there and new faces coming in every week. So definitely, yeah. And as from the fan standpoint, Matt.
That year, wasn't it the first time you touched the ball like a 70-yard touchdown? Didn't you just bust one right off your first play, I think?
No, first play. Let me think about this. And then my first play was a kick. First time I touched the ball was a kick return, and it was a good. I think it was a good kick return. I think. Against Edmonton. I think it was okay.
Yeah,
That was
just make it
okay.
up. I think it was a
We
great one.
don't have the video. Come on.
Here's the video.
I can't remember now.
No, it was an interesting time. I thought it was weird, and so I was doing I did the pregame show for the radio station that broadcast the Tiger Cat game. So I would come down to your practices once or twice a week, grab you, or Hitchcock was a great guy, and Casey Printers was there. I'm trying to think of who else was around during those times, but always good guys to talk to.
Yeah.
Sandy Beveridge is the guy. Sandy was one of the nicest guys ever. But he comes up to me and goes, "Chris, listen, I got a scoop for you. I'm quitting." And I said, "You're quitting, man? Like this is the dream. You're playing pro sports." He's like, "No, I'm going to be a firefighter." And I was like, "Hey, that's awesome. That's a great career." I'm like, "But you're playing football, man. Like that's the dream of so many people." And he's like, "Yeah, but I get paid more as a firefighter." And I thought, wow. And he told me what he was making, and I was making more, but I wasn't making a lot at that time, and I couldn't get over it. It's tough. If you're in the CFL, you've got to love playing football, and you've got to have that still hope for that dream that you're going to make it at some point, right?
Yeah, and it's getting better now, but like you said, entry-level firefighters are making more than professional football players, which I actually should be the case.
Yep.
First responder, you should be making a good paycheck. You're taking care of putting yourself in that situation. You should be making a good paycheck. I'm not saying that professional athletes should be making more or less, but when it comes to making a decision like that, and Sandy had been playing a long time because he came out of UBC as a young guy. So he was playing professional football, I think, at 21 or 22. And he played a good handful of career, but then you have a family, and you want to wake up without feeling like absolute, like you weren't hit by 6 cars the night before. And so for sure, the love of the game is a big part of it. You want to be compensated properly. It's getting better. Base has increased over the last number of years. Guys are getting paid pretty good, which is good. Hoping the CFL brand can get through this, and figure a way to continue to grow in different markets. I know Toronto is just getting hammered right now, and Vancouver is struggling. So it's going to be tough for them. But at the same point in time, Sandy, you're not making 7 figures. You're not making high 6 figures as like you would be in the NFL. So those are legitimate questions that guys would ask themselves all the time.
It just blew my mind. As somebody, as a young man, you're like, man, playing pro sports would be the best thing ever. And he's like, I would be a firefighter. And I'm like, that's what? Like, why would you? But you're right. It's obviously a great career and profession for him. So it really opened my eyes to what it was really like back then with the CFL. Tim, did you have anything else in the CFL? Because we can get into this Olympic time.
No, let's talk about the bobsledding. I love the CFL. I really do. But I'm excited to talk about bobsledding. I'm not going to lie. How does that transition happen?
Yeah, that's probably the question I get asked most, because nobody in Canada really grows up wanting to be a bobsledder. It's not a primary sport. It's not something that you really think about. You see it 4 times a year. Back then, you'd see it on the Speed Channel.
Uh-huh.
So it's like, what they did really, really well, and the high performance director at the time was a guy by the name of Matt Hindle, is he really worked hard to target collegiate sport athletes. Because I remember getting letters from BCS, Bobsled Canada Skeleton, when I played at MAC, just saying, hey, this is the sport. I never thought anything of it because, I was going to go play in the NFL for 15, 20 years and didn't work out that way. But in 2000 and going into free agency in 2009, February 2009, they had contacted me and 3 other athletes, Chad Rempel, and Chad might still be playing in the CFL for all I know. That guy is just, I don't know how many lives he has, but he went from an inside receiver to a long snapper and has been just doing really well. So it was myself, Chad Rempel, Neville Wright, who's a national sprinter, all right. And what they did is they put together this essentially called a blue chip camp, and they brought out a handful of us in Calgary, Canadian home games. So they had money behind the program to really do something and really try to extend the reach. And they tried to find athletes that would make a quick transition and potentially contribute to an Olympic team. So they called me. I was in my dad's kitchen, my mom and dad's kitchen. And I was like, thanks for reaching out, Matt. I don't know if it's for me. I was coming off my second shoulder surgery. And my dad was like, go do it. They're going to pay for you to go in Calgary and train with Olympic athletes in a different sport. Why wouldn't you do that? So I was like, okay, well, yeah, it's, different environment, get my head around it. And I went out and fell in love with the whole atmosphere and fell in love with the sport and fell in love with the idea at the time of potentially representing Canada, which you never get to do really in football, like right. And stuff. But so they look for sort of that second career athlete that's transitioning out of college sports or transitioning out of professional sport and maybe wants to or can extend their athletic career for a little bit longer. So he did a good job with that.
What does the first
that's exactly
sled ride look like? The reason I ask is last March break I took my daughter to a water park and I went down the slide and I thought I was going left and I ended up coming out right, and I was dazed when I got to the bottom. Like Cloudy mentioned, we're maybe not the most peak physical athletes out there. I think I got a concussion riding a water slide. So I just want to know what does the first bobsledding adventure feel like for you? Is it? I can't even imagine because I can't even get on a water slide. So I'm just wondering what that feels. What that feels like to you.
It's really hard to describe, actually. It's not like a roller coaster, and I love roller coasters, but it's nothing like a roller coaster, and it's not like a water slide. It's kind of like. It's kind of like being put in a washing machine, turning the washing machine on spin, and then pushing the washing machine down a hill.
Oh my God.
You get to the bottom and you're like, what the F just happened?
Yeah.
So you get through the first run, and then you get to the second run, and then you're like, okay, I'm starting to figure this out. And but it is a bit of it's just such a weird feeling. You're sliding down a hill super fast. You're getting thrown into corners that have a lot of pressure that is pushing you even farther into the sled. You're tapping walls. You don't know what it's like. And then you hear your pilot yell, brakes, 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 brakes. And you're supposed to pull the brakes to slow yourself down. As you approach through the finish line, you go through the outrun. And the outrun is an uphill section to help slow the sled down. In Whistler, you're pulling the brakes pretty hard too, because you're going from 150 kilometers to trying to get to 0 kilometers in 250 to 400 meters. So I know it's not a great answer because it is really hard. There's nothing really to describe it. And then when I say, people ask me, it's like, well, and I've been fortunate enough to be able to bring friends out and family out and get them to do a run in Calgary. They're like, well, what it's like? I'm like, we'll talk about it after. I'm at the bottom and they hop out and I'm like, so what was it like? And they're like, I have no idea.
We found this, Jesse. We got to talk about this here.
So you guys need some money. You need some work. Why don't you tell me a little bit about yourselves? What do you guys do?
Well, we push stuff.
Push stuff. Great.
Bill Train's coming! Woo! Back it for Bill! Coming hot! Woo! Frank, Jeff!
Hey, Bill.
Room service?
Ready to ride the lightning, Doris?
Back! Good! Head!
I'm not gonna lie, I've watched that 5 or 6 times. That's good stuff right there. I love that, man. That's good stuff.
So that was my first venture into producing something, a video. So it's
So you produced that.
yeah, I was part of the production team. So it was a concept that I had run by my PR director, and Bill, the guy who walked through the kitchen in the office team. That's Chris Dornan, and he's the media attaché for Bobsleigh Canada. And he's very, very forward thinking. And on tour, he comes out sometimes. And we were getting ready to go into the 2014 season. And Justin, who had been a teammate of mine in 2010 and ended up being a teammate of mine in 2014 as well, we were going to do a fundraising campaign. I'm like, let's do something a little different. I have this concept. What would you do? What would happen if you put bobsledders in, real world situations? The typical idea of what a bobsledder meathead, pushing stuff, this, that, and everything else. So we reached out to a couple production companies, and Joe Media loved the idea, and actually did it in support of us. So they contributed a lot of their, camera crew and people involved and creative people to put the storyboard together and put it into action. So we filmed it over a day. And then they were nominated for an award for it as well.
Wow.
Which was very, very cool. But it was really just to build awareness and drive some opportunity and sponsorship dollars to our fundraising campaign. And people loved it. People had they enjoyed it. It was more just for fun than anything else. But that was a pretty cool experience.
I love it, man. That's great. You see it on your website, jesselumsden.ca. Jess, 3 Olympics, is that right? You've been 3?
Yep. Vancouver, Korea, or Sochi, and Pyeongchang, Korea.
Is there another one coming for you?
No.
You're done?
Done. Yeah. All done. That's it.
It was luge ever an option?
No, luge is no. Luge is the toughest of the sliding sports. Yeah.
2-man luge, I think, is the toughest.
It's actually 2-person luge, so you can it can be man or woman because of weight, and usually it's 2 guys. So technically, you could have a man and a woman on the slide.
You hear that, Tim?
Cloudy
Yeah.
this winter,
That
Kingston Hill.
Yeah, we'll be out in Calgary real soon, Jesse.
I got for you guys.
Fly it out, guys.
You can try.
Yeah, I don't know if the spandex will work. All right, Jesse, we got to talk about this third little piece of your life, your time on MANTRACKER.
Yeah. You want to talk? What do you want to talk about? You still got me?
Let's go say hi.
We love this. This is great.
In there.
Oh, okay. You're putting something up?
Oh, this is going to get fun, ain't it?
There you go. Your time on MANTRACKER. So Tim and I, obviously, we would love to have been pro football players. We would have loved to have been at the Olympics. But I think we're most jealous about your time on MANTRACKER. How did that happen?
That was after 2010 games. It was, again, Justin and I. Somebody reached out to us last minute. Some people canceled. I was released from the Eskimos just prior to that, so I was a free agent again, and I wanted to play football. And Justin and I decided to hop on. It's like, yeah, let's do it. It was like 2 weeks advance notice. We had both started training again. Me trying to get onto a team. And funny enough, that Winnipeg had just called me the day before I was supposed to be doing MANTRACKER. And then Toronto. So we did it in Sault Ste. Marie, Northern Ontario. I think it was the Sault. And we get to the Sault, and then Toronto calls me. and wants to talk about a contract. And I said,
Oh, gee.
I can't say it. So I'm like, I'm going to be offline for a couple of days. I'll be back. So jump ahead just to finish this story. So I do it 2 days later. I check my voicemail. Winnipeg's wondering where the hell I am.
Come on.
We want you to play next weekend. And then on top of that, Calgary has now called me and left a voicemail.
Come on.
So I'm like, oh my God. They'd be not happy. But either way, it was such a cool experience. And it is so, people knock reality TV, but this is as real as it got.
Oh yeah.
It is as real as it got. There was no, staging anything. Like when the race started. And then what happened was you had a stop point at that evening to set up camp, and they needed to water horses. And there's Terry, who's a great guy. He's just south of us in High River, Alberta, and I've seen him a bunch.
Man.
And he's a great guy. So then you go through, you set up camp, you sleep the night, you try to sleep the night, and then sort of race starts back on 7:30 the next morning. And then the race is on again until it's over. So that's the cool thing. Nobody ever stops you and says, let's reposition this. Let's do that again. You have 2 camera crew with you in case you get separated. Lawrence and the other guy's camera. The 2 camera guys were so good in the woods, and they were camoed up. And like the unique thing was like, well, what if they see the cameraman?
That was our question.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you see the cameraman, you see us anyway. If you see us, you see the cameraman. So they would never compromise our opportunity to win the race to get a shot. What they would do is they mark the situation. So we were up there for 4 days. They mark the situation, and after the race is concluded, we go back and shoot B-roll. And then what they do is plug B-roll in to get the cinematic side of it. So there is TV production involved for sure, but it's never at the cost of the race. It's never impeding the race, which is great because it's natural and it's real. Man, I acted like a jackass at the beginning of that. And the third time when I heard those horses coming up behind me for the first time, holy.
Yeah.
Like,
it's a great episode. I'm not going to lie. Because you guys are just kind of going along, and then here comes Terry on the horse. It's like, oh, boy, time to hit the bush here.
I hit it hard, too. We were on this gravel road, and if we went right, we'd have to go up, and left is down into a river valley. And I turned left and sprinted and hit that edge like I was doing an Olympic long jump, and I went out and down hard. And I lost a knife on me, tumbled, and came to a stop, and Justin came back to me, and I was just like, what the heck just happened?
That's awesome.
Oh, it's real now.
That's hilarious, man. Do they tell you where you're going to be? Do they say, hey, you're going to be in the Sioux? Well, I guess you know because you're going to the Sioux, but what kind of information do they give you? Or they just say, hey, you're here.
They gave us a topographic map the night before to study.
Wow.
They gave us an idea of where we're starting and where we're finishing. And the topography helped a bit, and we used compasses to try to navigate as much as possible. Obviously deviated very, very quickly. But man, that was such a fun experience. I was so impressed with just the overall how it, I'd been involved with some TV little things here and there, but just how they functioned as a unit was so cool. And then we got separated. Justin went off on his own. I had the map. He got stuck in a swamp full of goose shit, and they were both on him. I didn't realize that, and I made my way to the finish line and waited for Justin, and they all came in together. And the finish line was essentially a horse trailer because that's where the horses were going to go into afterwards. And then as soon as it was done, met Terry, met Phil. Phil goes into the horse trailer and pulls out a case of beer. And
nice. This is awesome. As awesome as I thought it would be.
Yeah,
that's the best.
Yeah, it was really good. So it was a cool, and then you get to know Phil because we didn't meet Terry or Phil beforehand. You don't see anybody.
Okay, that was my question. You see them at the start line, or do you see them at all?
You don't see them until he's coming up your ass at 25 kilometers on a trot, 30 kilometers an hour on a horse. You know,
That's awesome.
yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Wow. Not to bury the headline here, but you finished. You won. You beat MANTRACKER, dude.
Yeah, at the cost of my teammate.
It's MANTRACKER.
That's so funny. I did read your sister and your dad were on Amazing Race.
That's
so
right.
you got some reality TV in the family.
I know.
That one, MANTRACKER, I think would be exciting. Amazing Race gives me anxiety watching. Like I just always feel like you're late. What was their experience like with that?
And my dad's experience was a little bit different than my sister's, I think. He looked at it, she was go, 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 and he was trying to be really strategic with certain things. They worked well as a team. They did a good job. They won a leg, which they were super stoked about.
That's cool.
And they competed well. But there were some things that happened that then comes reality TV into it.
Okay.
Rules, I guess, were getting bent for certain situations that didn't apply to people who might have been there beforehand. And that drove them nuts.
For sure.
Or people just weren't paying attention, and it wasn't one of those things that certain things could impact you differently. It wasn't like it was just, this is the way it's going. So, but yeah, a ton of anxiety. My dad was doing cold tubs like every time he could in like hotel rooms and stuff like that. It's super bare bones. You're not living in the lap of luxury by any means.
Wow.
So it's a true race for sure.
So cool.
Jesse, this has been awesome. I appreciate you because last time when we didn't connect, you actually jumped on as we signed off. We did get a couple minutes to chat there. So I appreciate you finding the time again. I know you're busy. 2 kids, you said?
Yeah, we got 2 or 3 if you include my working at a tech startup here in Calgary. So
nice.
We included if you include that one. 3.
Jesse, we always wrap up our conversations with our guests with a question. Who would you rather have a beer with? It's 1 beer, 1 night, and I give you some options, okay? So the first option is former Seattle Seahawks head coach Mike Holmgren.
Yep.
Next one is MANTRACKER, Terry.
Okay.
And number 3 is Patrick Mahomes, the $500 million quarterback for the Kansas City Chiefs. You get 1 night, 1 beer. Who are you having that beer with?
Oh, Terry again for sure.
Yes. That's
Yeah.
what I picked too.
Holmgren Cup.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean,
Yep.
Super Bowl champ for sure. Cool, but I drank beers with Terry. It's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I mean. It would be neat to have a beer with Patrick Mahomes, but yeah, I like Terry.
My thought was Patrick. It's not just 1 beer. He's gonna pick up the next 7 or 8. He's got the bankroll. That's my thought. That's my thought. So I'm hoping. I could just see myself getting a ride home to back of MANTRACKER's horse. Jesse, man, this has been awesome. I appreciate it. Thanks for chatting with us here today.
Thanks for having me, guys. This was a lot of fun. You guys have got a great format going. And
Thanks, buddy.
happy to. I'm looking forward to trying the Earl Grey wheat, Tim. I'll let you know how it goes.
Yeah, for sure, Jesse. Enjoy, man. Great
That's
talking
awesome.
with you.
Ladies and gentlemen, there's Hamilton's hottie.
Ha!
Thanks, Jesse. See you, buddy. Have a good one.
Thanks,
There you
Jesse.
go. Jesse Lumsden, former CFLer,
Uh,
Canadian
Dude.
Olympian, and MANTRACKER, which by far, man, has got to be one of the coolest things ever.
I know. You know I love football, Cloudy, but
Yeah.
bobsled and MANTRACKER.
Look at this guy, man.
You know what else is awesome? To hear that guy is awesome. Terry.
Yeah.
Terry Grant is awesome. And he needs to come on the 3 Beer podcast.
Anybody can track him down. You know what? I'll send Jesse a message to see if we can line up Terry. If
We're
we can
going
do
to try
that,
and track down MANTRACKER.
we are going to reverse the MANTRACKER and track him down. We're going to track him down. That's awesome. Appreciate everyone tuning in here tonight. Let's get some beer buzz. We kind of did a little backwards here.
But that's all right.
Lynn says, loved watching Jesse play football at university and CFL. He was a beast in university, man.
He still looks pretty jacked up. I'm not
No.
gonna lie.
He's a good guy, man. And he was injured a lot when he was in Hamilton. And so I would do pregame stuff, and then I would go sit in there were like a suite section, and he would sit there and he would come up and say, "Hey Chris, how you doing?
Yeah.
How are things at the radio station?"
You can
he's
totally see that for sure.
Yeah, he's
Just
not
a nice guy, eh?
not a dumb football player at all. Like he's got a head on his shoulders, and he didn't go down to the U.S. He had offers from Wake Forest and Notre Dame. He didn't go because he's like, no, I want to be running back. That's what I want to do.
That's awesome.
So kind of stood up. He's a real good story, and of course, a Canadian Olympian too. All right, Tim. Let's get to our beer buzz here on episode 1 of season 2. What did you want to hit on? You want to hit on the Red Barn launch?
Yeah, Red Barn opened up on July 1st. So I was like, I want to be there. I want to be the first guy in line, but I want to be out there. So I get out there. It's about 5 to 9. Kind of drive by just to check it out, and it's lined up, and that was awesome. So whipped the car around, got in line, and bought some beer. And I know that in talking with Denny, they were overwhelmed with everyone supporting them, but it's good beer, so it should be supported. And they're a good family. And look through some windows at what's going on there, and it's going to be awesome, And I was really jealous of you heading up to the vacation spot and being able to stop into a couple of breweries.
Yeah.
But being able to check out Red Barn and it's only 15 minutes from here. I was pretty pumped, and they got a lot of good stuff, man. Talking to Denny, they've got great ideas, man. So hopefully this gets going, and we can get some people out there, and they can finish stuff up and open up, because it's going to be an awesome spot. It really is. I can see it being a good tourist spot, checking out the family farm concept, and it's going to be awesome for sure.
Red Barn Brewing, episode 2 of season 1. You can see the meet the family there. Blenheim, Ontario is where they're located. Wanted to talk. This happened just as we were wrapping up season 1. Was the Molson Canadian hashtag Make It Canadian? They wanted to put together a case of Canadian beers, not just Molson Canadian. And they were asking any beer company to jump on board. And I think we were talking about this offline the other day about, have you heard anybody that's jumped on? And there's actually quite a bit.
Oh, really?
Big Rock Breweries got involved. Brasseur de Montreal, Boschkung Brewing. There's a couple Quebec ones in there. Carling's involved. Crank, Creemore, Caledon Hills. What else do I got here? Danforth, the brewery, Foghorn Brewing, Granville Island, Fort Garry. There's a bunch of these I don't even recognize either. Lake of the Woods Brewing Company, Holman, Hard Knock, Hockley. These are from all over Canada too.
Cool.
Are
these available then, or how's that working?
So what happens is you get a case of 24. There's obviously a Canadian in every one of them, and then it's 23 other beers from submitting breweries. So you go to their website, Molson Canadian website, if you're a brewery, and you submit yours, and you have a chance at being it. I had a buddy who just before the show, I saw him post that he had got one, and he had a can of Canadian, and then he had 23 other rando brewers in there. Which I thought,
that's a pretty cool concept. Really.
Yeah. Hashtag Make It Canadian.
I would love just a random 24 pack of beer. I was kind of disappointed. I went to the LCBO today, and I was disappointed with the selection, and that's probably got to do with everything that's going on right now. So I'm not gonna, say there's not good beer being made out there, but I was disappointed with the selection out there.
Yeah. We wanted to give a shout out to the Growler.
Right.
I caught this. I picked this up at the Gateway City Brewery. They had it on the counter, and I said, Tim's going to like one of those. I said, I like one of those. Went back to the car, and I said, who else would like one is Tim? So I went back in, and I got you one of these. Now, this is the February issue. They've been around for a while, but to tell you the truth, I hadn't picked one up until now. So if you go to the growler.ca, the craft beer guide, so this particular one is the Ontario Craft Beer Guide, and you can go through all of Ontario, and they list them, every brewery. And you and I were talking about the other day, there's some breweries in there that never even heard of.
No, I went through it actually just before we started tonight, and the Southwestern section, there was, I think, 33 breweries. I've been to 21, and probably 5 or 6 I'd never heard of yet. So pretty cool reference. The sad part was in this February edition, they talked about like all the beer fests and stuff that were coming up, and I was like, oh man, look at all the stuff that we're missing out on. But we'll be back someday, guys. It'll be back.
What could have been? What could have been? Lynn jumps on and says she's got a couple cases of beer from Wayne Gretzky Brewery, free delivery. That's nice. I didn't realize
By
that.
Wayne? Did Wayne bring it? Oh, yeah.
Did Wayner drop it off at the door? And Allie, how do you get this? Oh, for the Molson Canadian, go to the Molson Canadian website. There's details there. Delivery might be limited, but I know they had changed something in there as well. So you can find out more there. Timmer, we got anything else here tonight? We're running long.
We got lots of stuff, but we can wrap it up, buddy. If you look at it. Corey Byer offered us his random drawer of doom here. I've seen the drawer of doom. It's not that bad. It's just stuff that Corey doesn't like, but that's okay. We'll drink it.
Yeah, somebody's got to, right?
We can bring it on.
Somebody's got to. Hey, big thanks, Jesse Lumsden, first guest of season number 2 of the 3BeerPod. We'll be back again here next week. And if you're listening on the download, thanks for downloading. Don't forget to give it a rating as well.
Ooh, Eber.
I don't think we have time tonight, buddy. All right, Darren Eber, the local beer nerd and the 3BeerPod groupie. We'll bump him this week.
We'll bump him to episode 2.
Episode 2.
Pencil that in. Darren Eber, episode 2.
Episode 2.
Special guest.
Download the podcast. You can catch up on season 1. You can do it online wherever you get your podcast. And of course, in the Facebook group, facebook.com/3beerpod. You got anything else there, Timmer?
No, that's it, buddy. That was fun. Jesse was awesome. I'm glad he made it.
Good dude.
That was good stuff.
Good
for sure.
All right, Timmer. Cheers, buddy. Where am I here? There you go. I probably should have there. Let me pan it a little bit.
Oh, big shout out here. Yeah.
That's my son. Probably more embarrassed than anything. Graduated this year, so I'm keeping that up until he graduates high school.
Well,
yeah, it's a long shot, but we'll
probably
see.
laminate it.
Timmer, thanks, buddy. Have a good one.
All right, see you, Claudia.